There are moments in life when love is right in front of us, but it hides behind silence, distance, and hesitation. It's not that love isn't there, it's that fear is louder. Imagine this: someone looks at you and feels their heart expand in ways they never thought possible. But instead of stepping closer, they take a step back. Not because you are unworthy, not because they don't feel it, but because love terrifies them more than loneliness ever could. That is the paradox of the avoidant heart. So many people misunderstand it. They think, if they cared, they would show it. If they loved me, I'd know it. But the truth is more complex. An avoidant who loves is like a warrior standing on a battlefield, armor on, weapons ready. But instead of fighting enemies, they are fighting themselves. Their instinct says, protect yourself. Don't let anyone in. Don't risk the pain. Yet at the same time, their heart whispers, stay, connect. Don't lose this. That inner war is exhausting, and it's the very reason why someone who cares deeply may seem like they don't care at all. I want you to see this clearly. When an avoidant loves you but fears to show it, it doesn't mean the love isn't real. It doesn't mean the bond is weak. It means the battle inside them is strong. And if you can understand this, you'll begin to see the hidden signs, the subtle gestures, the unspoken words, the ways their silence sometimes screams louder than a declaration. We live in a world that glorifies the loud expressions of love: flowers, poems, grand gestures, endless communication. But love doesn't always wear a neon sign. Sometimes it hides in the shadows. Sometimes it whispers in the quiet moments. Sometimes it shows up as a push away when really deep down it longs to pull you closer. So today I want to take you deep into that hidden world, to uncover the truth about what it really means when an avoidant loves but cannot show it. Because if you can see through their fear, you may realize you are more loved than you ever imagined. And I'm going to give you 8 powerful keys to understanding this kind of love. These aren't abstract ideas. They are windows into the soul of someone who struggles with vulnerability yet feels emotion so deeply it terrifies them. Each key will help you decode what's really happening behind the distance, behind the silence, behind the guarded heart. Because here's the truth: love is not always obvious, but it is always felt. And when you can see beyond the fear, you will discover that an avoidant's love, though quiet, though hidden, can be one of the most profound forces in your life. So let's dive in. When an avoidant loves you but fears to show it, the very first sign is not found in what they say, it's found in what they struggle to do. Avoidants are masters of control. They have built walls over the years, brick by brick, to protect themselves from emotional pain. But when love enters their life, those walls begin to tremble. And though they may try to reinforce them, cracks begin to show. Their silence suddenly becomes heavier. Their distance suddenly feels charged with meaning. You see, love is not absent in their withdrawal. It's alive inside it. Think about it. A person who feels nothing has no reason to retreat. If you didn't matter, they wouldn't care. But the avoidant pulls back because the feelings are too strong. Love ignites a fear of loss, a fear of rejection, a fear of being seen completely. And those fears terrify them far more than loneliness ever could. So instead of stepping forward, they step back, not because they don't want you, but because they want you too much. This is why one of the strongest signs that an avoidant loves you is the conflict in their behavior. They may give you mixed signals, hot one moment and cold the next. They may open up briefly, only to retreat suddenly. They may reach for you in moments of vulnerability, then disappear as soon as they realize how close they've come. To the outside world, it may look like they're indifferent, but in reality, they are wrestling with emotions they don't know how to handle. That inner tug of war is the evidence of love they're afraid to show. Let me give you a picture. Imagine someone drowning, not in water, but in feelings. Every time they let themselves get close to you, it feels like they're sinking into depths they can't control. Their instinct screams, swim back to the shore. Get out before it's too late. So they push away, they withdraw, they close up. But what they don't realize is that by doing so, they are signaling how much the ocean of their heart has already expanded. And here's the paradox: the more they love, the more afraid they become. Their past has taught them that closeness can hurt, vulnerability can betray, love can wound. So they hesitate, not because their love is weak, but because it's powerful enough to awaken their deepest fears. Their retreat is not the absence of love. It's the weight of love colliding with the fear of loss. But if you pay attention, you'll notice the signs in the subtle things, the way they linger longer than they need to before leaving, the way they check in on you, even if it's disguised as casual, the way they remember small details you never expected them to hold on to, the way they seem unsettled when you pull back yourself. These are not accidents. These are glimpses of the love they cannot yet name out loud. And this is where your perspective matters. Most people misinterpret the avoidance retreat as rejection. They assume if they loved me, they would stay. But in truth, their pulling away is a sign that you've touched something deep inside them. Their love is there. It just battles with a fear that runs just as deep. When you understand this, you stop taking their distance personally and you start seeing it as part of their process. Now, let's be clear. This doesn't mean you tolerate being mistreated, ignored, or disrespected. Love requires balance, but it does mean you begin to read their actions differently. You realize that love for them is not expressed in grand declarations, but in the cracks of their armor. And those cracks are where the light shines through. Because here's the truth, an avoidance love is not shallow. It's not casual. It's not indifferent. When they let someone in, even if only halfway, it's monumental. It's terrifying for them to feel so deeply, but it also means you've reached a place in their heart that very few people ever have. Their struggle to show it is not proof of absence. It's proof of depth, and the most powerful thing you can do is to see that struggle not as rejection, but as confirmation that what you share with them is real, even if it's hidden under layers of fear. Because when an avoidant loves you, their fear of losing you becomes just as strong as their fear of letting you in. And that conflict, that hesitation, that silence, that is the language of love they cannot yet speak. When an avoidant loves you but fears to show it, one of the clearest signals comes in how much attention they actually give you, silently, carefully, almost invisibly. You see, avoidants are not careless people when it comes to love. On the surface, they may appear distant, unemotional, or even detached. But underneath that exterior lies a heart that notices everything. They might not flood you with constant texts or overwhelm you with big romantic gestures, but they will tune into the small things about you that most others overlook. That's their way of staying connected without feeling exposed. Pay attention to this. They may remember your favorite coffee order, the way you like your playlist arranged, or the way you smile when you talk about something you love. They notice the changes in your tone, the little sighs when you're tired, the silence when something is bothering you. These tiny details are not trivial. They're proof of investment. An avoidant who doesn't care won't bother noticing. But an avoidant who loves, even while fearing to show it, will pick up on all the subtleties that make you who you are. The challenge is that instead of expressing this attention openly, they often keep it inside. They observe more than they reveal. They think more than they say. It may even frustrate you because you wonder, if they love me, why don't they just tell me? Why don't they just show it? But what you must understand is that their silence is not emptiness. Their silence is full of observation, full of care, full of love they don't yet know how to express without feeling vulnerable. Let me paint the picture. Imagine someone standing outside a window in the cold, watching the warmth of the fire inside. They long to enter, but they are terrified of the heat. That's the avoidant in love. They're right there, watching, absorbing, feeling, but fear keeps them from stepping in. So instead, they express their love through the back door of subtle actions, little things that only someone who truly cares would ever notice or remember. Sometimes, this shows up as protective behavior. They may not say, "I love you," but they'll quietly make sure you got home safe. They may not shower you with compliments, but they'll check your car tires, bring you something you casually mentioned wanting weeks ago, or step in to defend you when you're not around. These acts are not random. They are love disguised as practicality. Now, here's where many people miss it. They look for the fireworks, the declarations, the obvious signs. And when those don't come, they assume the love isn't real. But with avoidance, the real love is coded into the quiet gestures. It's in the way they ask if you've eaten, the way they send something useful instead of something fancy, the way they show up when it really matters even if they don't stay for long. Their attention is strategic. They give it in bursts, in ways that feel safe for them but meaningful for you. And the truth is, the more they love, the more they notice. They are studying you, not to control you, but to understand you. That's their way of staying close while still feeling shielded. Think about this. How often do you overlook what's obvious because you're too focused on what's missing? You might crave the big words, the constant validation, the endless reassurance. But if you pause and look closer, you might realize that their love is showing up in ways you never expected. It's showing up in the fact that they paid attention. It's showing up in the way they protect your feelings even when they don't verbalize it. It's showing up in the small sacrifices they make that they'll never announce. And here's the deeper truth for an avoidant: noticing you deeply is the first crack in their armor. It's the first sign that you've made it past the walls they've built. Why? Because indifference is easy for them. Distance is easy for them. Disconnection is their comfort zone. But attention, consistent, thoughtful attention, that costs them. That exposes them. That means they are invested in you in a way that scares them. So the next time you wonder if they love you, ask yourself, do they notice me in ways that others don't? Do they remember the little things? Do they show up when it counts, even if they don't always announce it? If the answer is yes, then you're not dealing with someone who doesn't care. You're dealing with someone who loves you so deeply that they're terrified of losing control. Their love may not roar with words, but it whispers in actions. And sometimes the whispers are more real than the loudest declarations. Because whispers are for those who listen closely. And if you're listening, you'll hear their love everywhere, even when their fear won't let them say it out loud. When an avoidant loves you but fears to show it, one of the strongest signs lies in the tension between their desire for closeness and their instinct for distance. It's what I call the push-pull cycle. They want you, they need you, they crave connection. Yet the moment it gets too real, too intense, too close, they retreat. To you, it may feel like rejection. To them, it feels like survival. And inside that cycle is where their hidden love lives. Let's break this down. Imagine they spend a few days opening up to you, letting their guard down, laughing freely, maybe even sharing something from their past. For a moment, you feel like you've finally broken through. The walls are down, the love is visible, but then suddenly they grow cold, they stop responding, they disappear into silence. It feels like you've lost them, and yet just as suddenly they reappear again, often acting as if nothing happened. Why do they do this? Because the more they love, the more vulnerable they feel. Vulnerability for them is not natural, it's threatening. They've spent years, maybe even decades, protecting themselves from pain by relying on independence. But love cracks that independence. Love demands openness, and openness feels dangerous, so they pull away to regain control. But here's the paradox: even as they retreat, they can't let go. That's why they come back. This push-pull cycle is not random. It's the rhythm of an avoidant heart in love. When they lean in, it's because their feelings overwhelm their fear. When they pull back, it's because their fear overwhelms their feelings. And when they return again, it's because the love never left. It just got buried under the instinct to protect themselves. Now, this can be incredibly confusing if you don't understand it. You may feel like you're being toyed with, like they're hot and cold, like they're unsure about you. But the truth is, their inconsistency is not a reflection of how much they care. It's a reflection of how much they're battling inside. The cycle itself is proof of love. Because if they didn't care, they would simply leave. They wouldn't need to pull away. They would just be gone. The fact that they keep coming back tells you something powerful. You've reached a place in their heart that frightens them, but also pulls them in like gravity. Let me give you an image. Imagine someone standing at the edge of a cliff. On one side is the open sky, freedom, safety. On the other side is the leap into deep waters of love. Every time they step forward, they feel the pull of the fall, so they step back. But then the draw is so strong, they edge forward again. That's the avoidant in love. Their fear says, stay safe. Their heart says, jump. And they live in the tension of both. The danger here is misunderstanding. Many partners see the pulling away and think, they don't love me. They're losing interest. But if you can reframe it, you'll see the truth. The retreat is not rejection. It's proof of how deeply they feel. You've touched something raw in them, something they don't let anyone touch. That's why they need space. That's why they panic. That's why they run. But here's what makes this so important: their return. The fact that they come back after creating distance is everything. They may not announce it with grand gestures, but the act of returning itself is a declaration. It means the bond is stronger than the fear. It means that even after pulling away, the gravitational force of love brings them back to you. That cycle, frustrating as it is, reveals that you matter more than the safety of their distance. And make no mistake, every cycle of push and pull chips away at their walls. Every time they return, it's because love has proven stronger than fear, even if just for a moment. And over time, those moments matter. They accumulate. They begin to reshape what they believe is possible in love. So when you see this hot and cold pattern, don't mistake it as a lack of love. It's the very opposite. It's the storm inside an avoidant who cares deeply but doesn't yet know how to balance that care with their need for safety. Their inconsistency is not a reflection of their lack of feelings. It's a mirror of how powerful those feelings truly are. Because here's the truth: indifference has no push and pull. Only love does. And if you're experiencing the roller coaster of their retreat and return, you're not standing outside their heart. You're right at the center of it. And though it's messy, though it's chaotic, though it's frustrating, it's also the clearest proof that when an avoidant loves you, their fear will fight hard to silence it, but their love will always pull them back. When an avoidant loves you but fears to show it, one of the most revealing signs is hidden in their rare moments of vulnerability. Avoidants are usually guarded, private, and self-contained. They don't like to expose their inner world because to them, vulnerability feels like weakness. It feels like handing someone the power to hurt them. And yet, when they truly care, there will be small but powerful moments when the mask slips and you see the raw human behind the armor. Those moments are gold. They are the proof that love has reached places that fear cannot fully control. Think about it. Most of the time, an avoidant will keep conversations light, practical, or surface level. They may avoid topics that make them feel exposed. They may laugh off pain, distract from emotions, or change the subject when things get too deep. But when love softens them, they may suddenly share a story from their childhood they've never told anyone. They may admit to a fear, an insecurity, or a regret. They may even show emotion, anger, sadness, or tears that they usually keep locked inside. These moments may seem small, but they are monumental. Why? Because for an avoidant, letting you glimpse their inner world is terrifying. It's the ultimate risk. And if they take that risk with you, it's not random, it's love. They're saying, without words, I trust you enough to let you see me. That trust doesn't come easily. It's a sign that you've broken through barriers most people never get past. Let me give you a picture. Imagine a fortress. The walls are tall, the gates are heavy, and outsiders rarely enter. Most of the time, the fortress looks impenetrable. But one day, a small window opens, and you're allowed to peek inside. That's what it's like when an avoidant shares something vulnerable. The fortress doesn't crumble all at once, but that window is proof that you matter. Proof that your presence is shifting their patterns. Now, here's the challenge. Vulnerability for an avoidant often comes in short bursts. They may open up one day and then quickly retreat the next, almost as if they regret revealing themselves. They may even act distant after sharing because they feel exposed and unsafe. Don't misinterpret this retreat as rejection. It's simply their way of regaining control. The fact that they let their guard down at all is the evidence of love. Sometimes vulnerability doesn't look like confessions or stories. It may show up in their body language, a softer gaze, a lingering touch, a sigh of relief when you're near. It may show up in the way they allow you to comfort them when they're stressed, or the way they don't hide their struggles in front of you. For someone who's built their identity around self-sufficiency, admitting they need support, even silently, is a massive declaration of trust. And here's what you need to understand: vulnerability for an avoidant is not casual. It's not something they hand out freely. It's rare, it's fragile, and it's deeply meaningful. If you witness it, it means you've reached a depth in their heart that fear cannot fully lock away. It means you've become more than just someone they like. You've become someone they can't help but lean on, even against their own instincts. Of course, you may be tempted to want more of these moments, to crave deeper intimacy, to push for them to open up further. But remember, Trust with an avoidant is like water carving through stone. It doesn't happen in a flood, it happens in drops over time. Every small act of openness is a step toward dismantling their walls. Every confession, every glimpse of their inner world is a thread connecting their heart to yours. And here's the beautiful irony: the very thing they fear, vulnerability, is the very thing that proves their love. Because if they didn't care, they wouldn't risk it. They'd keep their armor on, their distance intact, their secrets safe. But the moment they let you in, even just a little, it means love has grown stronger than fear, even if just for that moment. So if you've ever experienced an avoidant letting down their guard, if you've ever heard them share something they swore they'd never tell, or seen them reveal emotions they usually hide, don't take it lightly. Don't overlook it. Recognize it for what it is. One of the purest signs that they love you but fear to show it fully. Because in their world, vulnerability is not casual, it's sacred. And if they give it to you, it means you've reached a place in their heart that most never will. When an avoidant loves you but fears to show it, one of the most striking signs is how much effort they put into staying in your life, even if they do it quietly, inconsistently, or indirectly. Avoidants are known for valuing independence above all else. They don't like to feel trapped, they don't like to feel obligated, and they don't like to feel like their freedom is compromised. So when they consistently choose to keep you in their orbit, even when fear tempts them to leave, that's love. Hidden, unspoken, cautious love, but love nonetheless. Think about it. Avoidants are masters at cutting ties when something doesn't serve them emotionally. They are quick to build distance, quick to disconnect, quick to move on if they feel unsafe. So if they keep returning, if they make the effort to maintain contact, if they show up in your world again and again, it means you've become more than just another relationship to them. It means you've reached a level of importance they don't give lightly. Sometimes this effort shows up subtly. They may not say, "I miss you," but they'll suddenly check in with a random message. They may not declare, "I want to be close," but they'll casually suggest meeting up or send you something they thought you'd like. They may not proclaim their love, but they'll find ways to remain present in your life. To them, these small actions are safer than vulnerability. But to you, they are signs. They are proof that you matter enough for them to fight their instinct to disappear. Here's the paradox: an avoidant's fear often drives them to pull back, but their love drives them to return. And it's that return, over and over again, that tells you the truth. Because leaving would be easy. Walking away completely would protect them from vulnerability. But the fact that they stay, in whatever way they know how, means their heart is stronger than their fear. I want you to imagine this. Picture a bird that has spent its whole life flying alone. Freedom is its safety, solitude is its comfort. But one day, that bird keeps circling back to the same tree. It may fly away at times, but it always returns. That's the avoidant in love. No matter how far they go, something about you pulls them back. That pull is love, even if it's a love they don't yet know how to show openly. And here's where most people miss it: they focus on the distance. They see the pulling away, the silence, the hesitation, and they assume that's the truth. But if you zoom out, if you look at the bigger pattern, what you'll see is that despite the fear, despite the walls, despite the instinct to withdraw, they keep choosing to stay in your life. And that choice, repeated over time, is the clearest sign that they love you. Make no mistake, for an avoidant, staying is hard. It goes against their wiring, their habits, their defenses. But love compels them to keep a connection alive. Even if they don't say it, even if they don't shout it, their effort is their declaration. Their presence is their confession. Their quiet consistency, despite the push and pull, is their way of saying, "You matter too much to lose." And sometimes that effort shows up when it matters most. They may not be around constantly, but when you truly need them, they appear. They may not always express affection day to day, but in big moments. When you're hurting, when you're celebrating, when you're facing challenges, they'll step in. They may not know how to say, "I love you," but their actions will scream it in ways words never could. The key is learning to read their effort. Don't measure their love by the standards of someone who expresses freely. Measure it by the courage it takes them to keep showing up despite their fear. Measure it by the fact that they break their own patterns of avoidance just to remain connected to you. Because for them, that is monumental. That is love in its truest form. Love that fights against instinct. Love that endures fear. Love that refuses to let go even when letting go would be easier. So if you ever wonder whether an avoidant loves you, look at the bigger picture. Ask yourself, do they keep coming back? Do they keep choosing me, even in small, quiet ways? Do they stay connected, even when it's hard for them? If the answer is yes, then you are not dealing with indifference. You are dealing with a love so powerful that it battles against fear every single day. Because here's the truth, absence is easy. Presence is love. And when an avoidant makes the effort to remain present in your life, despite the walls, despite the fear, despite the struggle, that is their way of saying, you are worth it. Even if I can't say it, even if I can't show it the way you want, I can't let you go. When an avoidant loves you but fears to show it, the greatest battle they fight is between intimacy and independence. On the surface, they may seem self-sufficient, even cold at times, as if relationships are secondary to their goals or freedom. But deep down, beneath the armor, there's a longing for connection that runs just as strong as anyone else's. The difference is that longing is paired with terror. To them, love feels like walking into a room with no doors. Once they're inside, what if they can't escape? What if closeness consumes them? What if vulnerability exposes them to rejection, betrayal, or abandonment? These fears can be overwhelming, even paralyzing. Yet here's the paradox: the very intensity of their fear reveals the depth of their love. Because if you didn't matter, intimacy wouldn't scare them. They wouldn't retreat, they wouldn't overthink, they wouldn't hesitate. Your presence wouldn't disturb the walls they've built. But when you do matter, when they do care, suddenly every instinct in them screams to protect themselves from the danger of being fully known. This is why avoidants often send mixed signals. One moment, they'll lean in, they'll open up, laugh, connect, share something personal. And then, just as quickly, they'll shut down, pull away, go quiet. To you, it feels confusing, frustrating, even hurtful. But to them, it feels like survival. They are managing the tension between their desire to connect and their fear of what connection might cost. Imagine this: they are standing in front of a door that leads to deep intimacy with you. On the other side of that door is closeness, safety, joy, fulfillment. But in their mind, on the other side is also risk, heartbreak, disappointment, loss. Every time they reach for the handle, fear pulls their hand back. But the fact that they keep standing at that door, the fact that they keep circling back to it instead of walking away forever, that's love. Hidden, hesitant love, but love nonetheless. Now, the important thing to understand is that this push and pull does not mean they are indecisive about you. It means they are fighting a battle within themselves. It's not about whether you are worthy of their love, it's about whether they are capable of withstanding the vulnerability love requires. This distinction matters because too often people take an avoidance distance personally as if it's a reflection of their value. But it's not, it's a reflection of the avoidance fear. And here's the key: when they keep coming back, when they keep choosing you despite their instinct to withdraw, it means their love is greater than their fear, even if they can't show it openly yet. That's why their presence, even in its inconsistencies, is such a powerful sign. Because absence would be easier, walking away would protect them completely. But love makes them stay, circle back, keep you in their world. So if you're watching an avoidant wrestle with intimacy, don't confuse their hesitation with lack of love. Their hesitation is proof of love. Their fear is the shadow cast by the light of how much they care. And if you can see that, if you can recognize that their struggle to step closer is the very evidence that they want to, then you'll begin to see their love. Not in the loud declarations, but in the quiet, trembling steps they take toward you again and again. Because for an avoidant, love is not easy. But when they feel it, it is real. And when they fight their deepest fears just to keep you in their life, that is one of the strongest proofs of love you will ever experience. When an avoidant loves you but fears to show it, one of the most misunderstood aspects of their behavior is their silence. To most people, silence feels like absence. It feels like rejection. It feels like someone doesn't care enough to speak, to explain, or to reassure. But in the world of an avoidant, Silence often means the exact opposite. Silence is not the absence of love. It is the weight of love they don't know how to carry. Think about this. Words are powerful, but they require vulnerability. To say, I love you, to say, I miss you, to say, you matter to me, means opening the door to being hurt if those words aren't received, or worse, if they're taken for granted. For an avoidant, that risk feels enormous. So instead of words, they retreat into silence, not because they feel nothing, but because they feel too much. Silence becomes their shield. Silence becomes their way of holding on to control when emotions threaten to overflow. Now, here's what many people miss. Silence doesn't mean they've stopped thinking about you. In fact, silence is often the loudest proof that you're on their mind. Because what do we do when we don't care? We move on quickly. We don't sit with the weight of it. We don't hesitate. We don't go quiet. When someone goes quiet, it's usually because their heart is wrestling with something words can't yet express. For an avoidant, that something is love. Their silence may be filled with late-night thoughts of you. It may be filled with replayed conversations, imagined scenarios, or unspoken wishes. They may stare at their phone, wanting to reach out but paralyzed by the fear of saying too much too soon. They may even type out a message, then delete it over and over again. And while you see nothing, while you receive only silence, what's happening behind the scenes is a storm of emotion. But here's the paradox. The avoidant's silence is also a form of closeness, because they don't go silent with people they don't care about. With strangers or casual connections, they feel no fear. They can speak freely, be charming, even overshare. Why? Because those people don't threaten their heart. They don't matter deeply enough to stir fear. But with you, the one who matters, the one who touches their soul, suddenly words feel dangerous. Silence then becomes the safer choice. And in that silence lies the proof that you are not just another person to them. You are someone whose presence shakes the walls they've built. Now, this doesn't mean their silence is easy to deal with. It can be frustrating, even painful, to feel kept at a distance. But if you reframe it, if you see silence as evidence of love, not lack of it, you'll begin to notice the subtle ways they communicate without words. Maybe it's the way they linger around you longer than necessary. Maybe it's the way they remember the small details you've shared. Maybe it's the way their eyes soften when they look at you, even if their lips say nothing. Those are their silent declarations of love. And when silence stretches, remember this, it is not emptiness. It is fullness they haven't yet figured out how to release. It is the pause between the heart's longing and the courage to act. It is the quiet before the breakthrough, because eventually love has a way of breaking through even the strongest walls. And when it does, when the avoidant finally finds the courage to put words to the love they've been carrying in silence, those words will be some of the truest you'll ever hear. Not spoken casually, not offered lightly, but born out of years of hesitation, fear, and silent devotion. So the next time you're faced with their silence, don't take it as a void, take it as proof. Proof that what they feel for you is so deep, so overwhelming, that words can't yet contain it. Silence, in their world, is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of love finding its way into the light. When an avoidant loves you but fears to show it, the ultimate proof of that love is not in grand declarations or dramatic gestures. It's in the quiet transformation that takes place within them. Avoidants do not change easily. They build their lives around control, independence, and the safety of distance. Yet, when love enters their world, something begins to shift. They start doing things that go against their natural instincts. And those shifts, however small, are the clearest sign of how deeply they care. Think about it. An avoidant who has spent their life protecting themselves from vulnerability suddenly begins letting down their guard. They may not drop it all at once, but cracks begin to appear in the armor. They allow you glimpses of their private world, stories from their past, dreams they rarely admit, fears they've never spoken aloud. To anyone else, this might seem ordinary, but for them, it's monumental. Sharing is not casual for an avoidant, it's sacred. If they let you in, it means you matter at a level that terrifies and excites them at the same time. Another transformation you'll notice is in their behavior when you're not around. Avoidants are masters of self-reliance. They pride themselves on needing no one, but love makes them miss you. Love makes them crave your presence. Love makes them notice the empty spaces where you used to be. They may not admit it, but it shows in their actions, the unexpected message, the surprise call, the way they show up in moments you didn't expect. These are not accidents. These are the signs of a heart slowly surrendering, even while it trembles with fear. Perhaps the most telling transformation is the way they begin to compromise. Avoidants are not naturally inclined to bend their routines, adjust their habits, or accommodate others, but love pushes them to do what once felt impossible. They may drive out of their way to see you, rearrange their schedule just to spend time with you, or make sacrifices they never thought they would. To them, compromise is vulnerability, and yet, for love, they begin to make it. That shift is not small, it's a seismic sign that you hold a place in their heart. And then there's the protective side of their love. When an avoidant truly loves you, you'll notice a quiet but fierce protectiveness in their actions. They may not say the words, "I'll take care of you," but they'll act in ways that prove it. They'll check in when you're unwell, support you in ways that aren't loud but are steady, and show up when you least expect them but need them the most. They may not shower you with verbal reassurances, but their love is written in the consistency of how they show up for you, even when their fear tells them to run. Now, understand this transformation for an avoidant doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process, like ice slowly melting under the warmth of the sun. But that's what makes it powerful, because when they change for you, it's not impulsive, it's not shallow, and it's not temporary. It's deliberate, it's real. It's the kind of change that comes from the deepest part of who they are. This transformation is, in many ways, the truest declaration of their love. Words can be empty, gestures can be staged, but transformation, changing patterns they've held onto for years, that is something they can only do when their love outweighs their fear. And that is why, when you see these shifts, you can know without doubt they love you, even if they can't always say it. So the next time you wonder whether an avoidant loves you, don't just listen for the words. Look for the transformation. Watch the way they begin to show up differently. Notice the compromises, the sharing, the protectiveness, the small acts of care, because those changes are not casual. They are the clearest, most undeniable evidence that despite their fear, despite their instinct to run, love has taken root in their heart, and it is rewriting the very way they live. And when love is strong enough to transform someone who has spent their whole life hiding from it, you can be sure it is a love worth trusting. Because in the end, their fear doesn't win, love does. When we step back and look at the journey of an avoidant heart, one truth becomes undeniable: love, even when hidden, leaves a powerful trace. It may not arrive with fireworks or sweeping words, but it shows itself in subtle, steady ways. Every hesitation, every silence, every small compromise, these are not signs of weakness. They are signs of a love that is real, raw, and deeply human. To love while afraid is one of the bravest acts a soul can attempt. And when you witness an avoidant push through fear, even in small steps, you are watching one of the purest forms of love unfold. It's easy to mistake their distance for disinterest, their silence for rejection, or their hesitation for lack of care. But the truth is, avoidance often hides intensity. They fear not because they don't feel, but because they feel too much. Their walls are not built against you, they are built against the possibility of pain. And yet, when love calls, those walls begin to crack. What emerges through those cracks is a kind of devotion that may not be obvious to the eye, but it is steady and enduring, like the roots of a tree breaking through stone. Loving an avoidant is not always simple. It requires patience, compassion, and a willingness to see love in forms that may not look like what the world tells you love should be. But if you learn to recognize the signs, the quiet presence, the small transformations, the silent protectiveness, you'll discover that avoidant love, though understated, is incredibly profound. It is not casual, not fleeting, not shallow. It is cautious, yes, but when it finally takes hold, it runs deep. And here's the greatest revelation: when love is strong enough to move an avoidant past their fear, it is love that has already proven its strength. Because if it can transform someone who has fought their whole life to resist it, then it is not a fragile love. It is a resilient love, a love worth trusting, a love worth fighting for. That kind of love doesn't just survive fear, it rewrites it. So if you find yourself loved by an avoidant, even if they struggle to show it, know this: you are witnessing something rare. You are standing in the presence of a love that is not careless, not easy, but deeply intentional. A love that may not speak loudly, but lives loudly in the way it transforms a guarded heart. And if you can see that, if you can honor the courage it takes for them to love at all, you will realize that what you have is not just love, it is extraordinary love. Thank you for staying with me through this powerful journey of understanding avoidant love. If you made it this far, it tells me something important. You don't just want answers, you want transformation. You don't just want information, you want clarity and hope. And that means you are someone who is ready to see love in its deeper, truer form. I hope this message has given you a new perspective, a new lens through which to view the avoidant heart, because so often we misinterpret silence, hesitation, or distance as rejection. But what you've heard today is proof that love hides even in fear. And when you know how to see it, when you know how to recognize it, you'll never look at those patterns the same way again. If this video touched you, inspired you, or helped you in any way, I ask you to give back in the simplest way possible by subscribing, liking, and sharing this message. Together, we can spread understanding, healing, and hope to thousands of others who are struggling with the same questions you once carried in your heart. And remember this: the journey of love is never about perfection. It's about growth. It's about seeing the courage it takes for someone to love you, even through their fear. Hold on to that truth, because it will remind you of the strength and beauty of the connection you've been given. Until next time, stay strong, stay compassionate, and stay open to the kind of love that transforms fear into freedom.